along the shimmering coastline of the southeastern United States. From the sandy shores of North Carolina down through South Carolina, Georgia, and into northern Florida, lives a people whose culture is one of the most distinct and enduring African legacies in America. They are the Gulligi, the descendants of enslaved Africans who transformed isolation into preservation and oppression into a living testimony of African resilience. When European enslavers first arrived on the Carolina and Georgia coast during the 16 and 1700s, they sought fertile land for rice, indigo, and cotton, crops that demanded intense labor and skill. To meet this demand, enslavers specifically imported Africans from the rice coast of West Africa, present-day Sierra Leone, Liberia, Senegal, and Gambia, where people cultivated rice for centuries. These Africans brought with them not only their agricultural experience, but their languages, spiritual practices, and community structures. Because of the region's swamps, mosquitoes, and deadly heat, white plantation owners often avoided living on the isolated coastal islands and lowlands, leaving the Africans to manage the plantations largely on their own. This isolation, both geographic and social, allowed the enslaved people to preserve their African traditions to a degree unmatched anywhere else in America. Over time, they blended African, English, and Creole influences to form a new cultural identity. Gullah in South Carolina and Georgia, and Geechee in northern Florida and parts of Georgia. Their language, known as Gullah or Geechee, is one of the most unique linguistic creations in the Americas. It is a Creole language born from the merging of English with African languages such as Mende, Vai, Wolof, and Yoruba. The language carried African rhythms, sentence structures, and proverbs, a living bridge between the old world and the new. To this day, Gullah remains a vital part of the community's identity and oral tradition that connects generations. The foodways of Gullah Geechee are equally rich and rooted in African heritage. Dishes like red rice, okra soup, gumbo, shrimp and grits, and hoppin' john trace their origins directly to West African cuisines. The same ingredients, rice, okra, sesame, and seafood, that sustained their ancestors across the Atlantic became the foundation of what would later influence Southern and African American cooking as a whole. Every dish tells a story of survival, creativity, and remembrance. After emancipation, many Gullah Geechee families remained on the Sea Islands, places like St. Helena, Sapelo, the Fuski, and Hilton Head, building self-sufficient, close-knit communities. For generations, they farmed, fished, and lived off the land and sea, maintaining cultural independence. Their isolation continued to protect their traditions long after slavery ended. But as the 20th century unfolded, the Gullah Geechee homeland came under attack, not from plantations this time, but from developers and government policies. The very isolation that preserved their culture also left them vulnerable. Because many Gullah Geechee people held their land through heirs' property, they became easy targets for outside buyers, tax schemes, and eminent domain. From the 1950s onward, the Sea Islands became coveted tourist destinations. Developers began to buy up massive amounts of land and build resorts, golf courses, and luxury homes. On islands like Hilton Head and Kiowa, entire Gullah communities were displaced. What had been sacred family land for generations, land worked, protected, and buried upon, were stripped away, sometimes through deceptive practices or skyrocketing property taxes that made it impossible for families to stay. Today, the struggle continues. Despite recognition of the Gullah Geechee as a unique cultural group, including the creation of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor by the U.S. Congress in 2006, the community faces ongoing threats from gentrification, climate change, and loss of land. In places like Sapelo Island, elders still fight in court to keep what remains of their ancestral property. Yet, despite all of this, the Gullah Geechee spirit remains unyielding. Their language is being taught again to younger generations. Their food, art, music, and storytelling are celebrated in festivals from Charleston to Jacksonville. And their connection to Africa, one of the deepest in all of Black America, continues to remind us that no matter how far they were carried across the ocean, Africa never left them. The story of the Gullah Geechee people is the story of endurance, of how a people carved freedom, identity, and legacy outside of isolation. It is a reminder that within the hidden corridors of the American coastline lives a nation that refused to be erased. As the tide rises and the land changes, the Gullah Geechee fight not just for property, but for the right to remain whole, to keep alive a culture that tells us who we were, who we are, and who we must never forget to be. To all of the descendants of the Gullah Geechee culture, we proudly stand on your shoulders. For more information, please visit my website at www.ontheshoulders1.com. There, you can support my OTSOG book series. You can also support me on Patreon at patreon.com/OTSOG. You can hit the super like button under this video and you can join this channel as a member. Love you all and make sure you catch the next video coming up.